Now, Ilia Topuria and Terence Crawford have been having some choice words over, over Twitter, over some interviews, and it leads me to believe something. One is that Ilia Topuria's confidence, man, you just can't make it up. And then Terence Crawford seems like he dislikes Ilia Topuria. And rightfully so, because Ilia's the thing about Ilia, guys, is I know we're in the UFC community, so like, yeah, Ilia Topuria gonna knock him out. But, Ilia's doing what I want to call the Conor McGregor situation, when Conor McGregor was kind of barking up the Floyd Mayweather tree. They had the fight, whatever happened. Now, in this video, I am going to tell you guys who I think would win if they were to fight. And honestly, it might surprise you what I have to say. But before that, let's get the puzzle pieces together. Let me make sure everyone understands the story. So it all starts here where Ilia Topuria runs into Terence Crawford. It's not a video, it's a picture. It looks friendly. You can see Crawford a little bit big, maybe a little bit chubby. I don't know, brother. He's supposed to be in good shape. But a picture was taken. He happens to post a picture and said who wins in the fight. Then a day later, Ilia Topuria tweets out this. I won't talk. That's kind of funny. I won't talk about what would happen between me and Crawford in Octagon. I'll talk about what would happen in the ring. And obviously, we don't gotta explain, because let's be real, brother. No boxer, and I'll be real. Terence Crawford can wrestle. I've seen footage of Terence Crawford wrestling. He's not bad, but I'd be an absolute imbecile, idiotic fool with no hairline if I were to say, yeah, man, I think Terence Crawford's wrestling background. I think Terence Crawford wrestling background gets it done. He gets to scrape a decision off it. Nah. Honestly, it might be interesting though, because since Ilia's best weapon is his boxing, and then Terence Crawford does have good wrestling background. He used to wrestle as a jit. It could be interesting because Ilia's best weapon being boxing, Ilia might not be able to use it as easy on Terence Crawford as other people. But then my counter to that would be like the low kicks. Like Ilia does throw low kicks, and then now a little bit different ball game. So obviously we don't want to talk about Octagon. But he said in the ring, I put him to sleep in the first contact. Hey, Shibal. First contact. All right. First of all, I'm gonna just say what I want to say. I do think 4-ounce gloves and boxing gloves are a little bit different. Now the impact. Honestly, I think when you get hit with a boxing glove, it has a little bit more blow to the brain, if that makes sense. But it's harder. I feel like this could be a hot take, but I think it's harder to one punch knock out someone with boxing glove in contrast to a 4-ounce UFC gloves, because it's basically no padding. If you hit someone right, it can knock them out. Same with boxing, but the narrative he's trying to make out that he actually just touched Terence Crawford and he just blows away. I don't know if I jacked this narrative, brother. So since then, Terence Crawford did respond to this, and I'm going to play his response so you guys can hear it as well. And I feel like his response is like kind of how you would expect Terence Crawford to respond in this sense. This is what he says. Hold on, make sure you guys can hear. Volume up, everything look good. All right, let's go.
From the UFC world, Ilia Topuria says that if you guys have boxed, he would knock you out basically with the first punch.
That dude drunk, Hey. A lot of MMA guys, they drink a lot, so he must have been on that alcohol that day.
From the UFC world.
Now, this is what Terence Crawford is supposed to say. And let's be real, guys. Terence Crawford is one of the best boxers on the planet. We just watched what he brutalized Errol Spence. And Errol Spence was one of the best too. Now, there's a big jump in UFC, MMA boxing, and boxing, of course. And I feel like his response saying Ilia must be drunk, brother. Why else would he say, oh, yeah, well, yeah, you never know. Ilia hits hard. So, what's funny about this? Terence Crawford was also saying that he thinks Cody Garbrandt's the best boxer, and he knew about Ilia Topuria. But you could tell he doesn't really watch it, but you could tell he didn't want to say Ilia, because obviously the go-to answer would be Ilia, but you have to go back in the backpack and be like, yeah, that Cody Garbrandt guy is the best boxer. And even the guy who asked him the question was like, what about Ilia Topuria? He's like, yeah, nah, but boxing skill, I'm gonna go Cody Garbrandt. She-ball, brother. You're wrong, my friend. I ain't gonna lie. Obviously, Cody Garbrandt's not the level of boxer of Ilia Topuria, but even since that moment, I feel like Ilia Topuria probably took offense to that. And then since then, Ilia's been posting stuff and then talking about it. And this is what Ilia responded to after Terence Crawford said this. He said this today. This is what was his response to the whole Terence Crawford's take on MMA fighters going into boxing.
Su técnica, sus habilidades, aquí estoy para demostrar, porque es que últimamente me molesta porque hay muchos boxeadores que salen y siempre se meten en nuestro juego y nos critican y siempre nos quieren por debajear, y la verdad es que hay muchos atletas que han intentado ir al boxeo y probar sus habilidades, pero no conozco a muchos de ellos que hablan tanto que hayan probado sus habilidades en MMA, pero de todas maneras, cualquiera que quiera, aquí estamos.
¿Ese salto al boxeo estarías dispuesto a darle durante tu carrera de MMA?
Es algo que está en mis objetivos, así que me encantaría hacerlo. Y si es contra alguien como Crawford, mucho mejor. Primero, le queda el combate por ganar. Cuando quiera...
So he answered two things. The last question, of course, he said he would love to go to boxing. But the first thing he said is kind of what we all know as MMA fans, guys. Ain't no, well, we seen James Toney. Kenny, what about James Toney? But for the most part, guys, no boxer is going to want to come into an MMA octagon because they understand it's a real fight. It's a lot of moving parts. Now, it goes back to my first thing I was saying earlier in the video. If they were to fight MMA, I'm going to go Ilia because I'm not an idiot. Ilia actually has really high level grappling. You know, yes, Terence Crawford has a wrestling background, but so does Bobby Green. Like, that's how no joke, I'm not even trying to hate. That's how I see a Terence Crawford's wrestling, like a Bobby Green, you know, wrestling. He could, like, you try to, if I had to wrestle with Bobby Green right now, I'm sure he'll know some stuff, just like Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's wrestling background's good enough to, you know, go walk across the street and, like, beat the random people, and maybe some people with little experience of wrestling, but, like, the level of experience of grappling that Ilia Topuria has, it's night and day. So he is right saying, but why would boxers want to come in MMA? I think boxers themselves know that they just don't got what it takes to come over to an MMA octagon and like try to even compete with the highest level. Now, I will give UFC fighters and MMA fighters their respect, and Ilia Topuria's and even the Conor McGregors. They are willing to test themselves in a different department of fighting. And to be honest, the Conor McGregor-Floyd fight, I don't know if you guys remember it, Conor started really well. And this actually leads me to believe that Ilia Topuria, it might surprise you guys how much success Ilia Topuria will actually have if he fights Terence Crawford. I want to point to something, guys. I believe that Ilia Topuria is faster. A faster puncher. Oh, hey, Sheba, here it comes. I might say some hot takes now, so everyone grab a hold of the fucking something close to you, man. This might rattle you. I think Ilia Topuria is faster, and I think he's more powerful, pound for pound, than Terence Crawford. I also think his precision is better than Terence Crawford. I said it, you know, and I said it in the boxing. Dude. The boxing people. Dude, I just stumbled upon your MMA channel. Fuck your MMA channel. Guys, I'm not trolling. Ilia Topuria, via eye test what I've seen and via what I've seen in his repertoire and what I've seen him use and pull out, I do think he's faster, more precise, and, you know, more powerful than Terence Crawford. But I will say this, and I can say the same thing about Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather, and it wouldn't be a hot take. At the time of their fighting, Conor was the quicker fighter. He was the more reactive fighter, the better counterpuncher. He was more powerful. And yeah, he's more precise in the early rounds. You guys got to watch back that fight. He was actually beating Floyd Mayweather early. But what happened? Brother, now gas tank is up to this conversation now. So I want to address the gas tank of Ilia Topuria. Now, it's not bad, but we have seen Ilia Topuria against the fence, like arms low, in a 3-round fight. That's 5 minutes each round. You know, guys, 12 rounds of boxing. And I know you guys might be like, yeah, but Ken, you just said he's more powerful. So the power. Conor, pound for pound, was one of the most powerful strikers in the UFC. He was putting away people to sleep in his 4-ounce gloves. He was landing clean on Mayweather, guys. Trust me. And he's a bigger guy than Mayweather naturally. He was landing these uppercuts, these straight punches. And they were landing on Mayweather flush, but they weren't putting away Mayweather. Like, Mayweather was eating them because, like I said, boxing gloves come with a different kind of power. You need to understand how to harness that power in a better way to make it one-punch power. It's not quite the same as UFC. Honestly believe if Terence Crawford and Ilia Topuria were to fight, the first couple rounds will be close, and dare I say, Ilia Topuria will be outperforming Terence Crawford in the first couple rounds, guys. But when we start to talk about round 5, 6, 7, brother, 8, sheep, mama. At this point, 8 is like, if Ilia makes it there, brother, dale, I'll applaud it. But I don't think after that round or once that round or gets to those later rounds, I just don't see it as a fight. This is where the boxing experience of Terence Crawford is going to take over, and that's where he brutalizes Ilia Topuria and ultimately probably TKOs him. You know, I see him dropping Ilia a lot of times and just putting it on Ilia to a point where Ilia can't keep up. I'm saying that out of pure honesty. Like, just because Ilia Topuria via eye test and early on in the fight might be more dangerous, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go in there against Terence Crawford and just beat him up because he looks faster, he's better. It's not going to happen like that. I see him starting off pretty well against Crawford, but as the fight elongates, Crawford's going to ultimately take over and kind of take Ilia to school, you know. But honestly, I don't hate the fight. Because, like I said, the fight's not going to be like a Jake Paul gimmicky fight. It's actually going to be a real fight. Like 2 high-level boxers, you know, but one person just having a lot more experience. I'm all for this fight. And I do think Ilia is willing to take this risk. That being said, guys, though, I want to talk about the MMA octagon. Because unironically, he's going to be a hot take if I say this. Sheba, don't say it, Kenny. I might say it, Okay, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be more competitive in a MMA octagon, but I can say okay, let me be careful. I want to be very careful. I want to tread as carefully as possible. I want to say this. In the boxing ring, I could put anything. I'll put any amount of money that Terence Crawford will win. Because I know Crawford has a chin. I know Crawford's a big guy. They're both kind of big guys. I think Ilia might even be walking around bigger. I don't know. But I know both guys are a little bit hefty, strong. But I know that Crawford has been in there with powerful punches. Crawford has weather storms. It's going to be boxing gloves, a whole different story. Whereas MMA, I feel like Ilia's ego might make him want to strike with him a little bit. But Terence Crawford's grappling background might be enough to sneak out the first round. My thing is, Ilia Topuria is going to fight differently. This is the thing. Ilia Topuria is going to have to fight differently if he does fight Terence Crawford. It's not going to be the same Ilia who wants to strike first. It's going to be Ilia who wants to wrestle first. So Terence Crawford is more likely to change the tune of how Ilia Topuria fights. Whereas no matter how Ilia Topuria shows up against Terence Crawford, he's just going to fight like Terence Crawford. So the credit I will give Terence Crawford is he'll force Ilia to fight different. In contrast, Ilia Topuria is not going to force Terence Crawford to make any adjustments if necessary, because he's not really going to need to make adjustments because this is what he does the best, and he's going to sit there and he's going to just trade, and it's going to be a good fight for the first 3-4 rounds, and then Terence Crawford's going to take over. And then once Terence Crawford takes over, there's no comeback shot. The way Ilia Topuria looked when he was fatigued on that short notice fight, the way he's kind of laying against the fence, that thing, that's not even that is literally just food. At that point, you're a useless human being in front of someone who's been doing this their whole life, and then you're done for. Ilia Topuria is going to have to wrestle if he has to fight Terence Crawford, or blast some leg kicks and make it interesting. I will say this: if they're gonna do something, I would actually like to see both people fight in both sports, because Conor McGregor, Floyd, I feel like we're not going to make Floyd get in there with Conor. Even though Conor's grappling is not all that. It's just that we know Floyd would get floored. Whereas this one, I guess Terence Crawford's whole wrestling background makes it a little bit more interesting with the Ilia Topuria. So if they're going to do it best of 3, man. Whoever beats who the most significantly in their one, they get the third fight to be in their favor, whatever they want. Or mixed rules. What would be perfect? Mixed rules. If they do mixed rules, you can only strike with your hands and wrestle or something. But there's no leg kicks. That'll be interesting, because now a little bit problem for Ilia more if he's not allowed to kick, and then he's forced to either strike or box or wrestle. This is what I'm talking about, brother. Make it unique. I think this is good for UFC and boxing. UFC and boxing are already doing this collab thing, and now we got the two best of their sports beefing, especially if Terence Crawford beats Canelo. Mama, this will be the biggest fight you could ever think of, In my opinion on that fight, I don't even know if might as well just say my take on Terence Crawford Canelo, because I'm not going to make an individual video on that. Listen, Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. It's Crawford going up in weight. One thing about me, guys, I got to be real with you guys. I'm not the best at picking boxing, boxing main events. I just know how to pick wrong. I picked Haney to beat Garcia the second time, but I could go down a whole sing-song and show and list about how bad I am with these. But I will say this: Terence Crawford, I think, is better than Canelo as far as boxing skills concerned, his movement's concerned. But my concern is that Canelo's going to be too big, pause, too raw, pause again, and too girth. All right, doing it on purpose now. I'm doing it on purpose. He's just going to be too much. I feel like what Canelo's going to try to do is Marauder Max. But is Marauder Maxing enough for Crawford? Is he just going to, I think he's going to walk down with a high guard and try to bully him with these when he starts letting it rip to the body and to the head. But I just feel like Crawford his footwork might be too much for Canelo. But the thing is, he's going to have to hit Canelo with something meaningful. And I just don't think no matter what he throws to Canelo, Canelo's going to eat it, isn't he? Because Crawford doesn't have that one punch blow. But after saying all that, I'm gonna go Terence Crawford. After all that analysis, I'm gonna go Terence Crawford, because I think Ladderman skill will prevail, and it could be a situation like Bivol versus Better Biev the second time around, where the guy Marauder Max is just not doing enough, whereas Bivol damn, voice crack. Bivol or Terence Crawford in this case will be landing cleaner shots than escaping, whereas Canelo is kind of landing shots, but they're more smothering shots than anything. So my official pick for that fight is Terence Crawford. So you got it. Terence Crawford after he beats Canelo. I'm sure Ilia Topuria is going to be less inclined to boxing him in a boxing ring, but maybe he can fix the rounds to make sure it's not 12 or else it's be over. But I think Crawford gets it done, and then we get a super fight with Ilia Topuria versus Terence Crawford. But let me know what you think down below. That's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3, 4.